After the angry video game nerd made his video years and years ago about possibly the most infamous NES game ever made, Action 52, I couldn't help myself. I had to emulate it to see what the big deal was. And you know what? This game is so unfinished, so rushed, and so broken that every single thing wrong with the original cartridge cannot be fixed even in the emulated ROM, aside from like one game loading that didn't load originally. Everything else from the rest of the games that refuse to load and crash immediately, graphical glitches and broken games that fail to load the enemies and objects you need to continue are still there. Not even the modding public can save this one. This is totally redundant to you if you know everything about Action 52, so if you don't know what all this is about, allow me to fill you in deep. Action 52 was a terrible idea from the start. The guy who invented it, Vince Perry, reportedly was inspired one day when his son was playing an illegal game cartridge with over 40 games built onto it. He thought, hey, I can do this, but legally, and so $20 million worth of funding later, with 3 hired college students to program the entire game and write all the music and everything, with only 3 months to finish 52 separate games that could all fit onto an NES cartridge, Action 52 came out. And even the legality wasn't accomplished because every copy released was unlicensed for the NES. This should have been a red flag from the start, but then they had the gall, the shitting nerve to charge the public $200 for the full game. That averages out roughly around $4 a game, so it sounds like a bargain, but when you actually play any single one of these 52 games, you'll immediately see why that isn't worth it. As mentioned, some games don't load, and the ones that do sometimes don't even include the enemies and items you need to get through them. Some games aren't only carbon copies of other Nintendo games and even plagiarize music from other composers, but many are blatant carbon copies of each other, most notably with the abundance of top-down space shooters. Some are so difficult and unfair that they're simply unplayable, some are multiplayer only without telling you they are, some are so imbalanced and slow that they're too easy, some take the most basic of control schemes and bastardize them, for instance making the jump button not move you in midair if you hold the jump button down even slightly, and some are just so unattractive and ear-grating you can't play for any longer than 2 minutes. I know you can't be too harsh considering all the circumstances and timescale to finish the game. Hell, that's actually why I defend E.T. on the Atari 2600, but the difference between these games is that E.T. came out in the 80s on a less advanced system and was mostly done by one guy, plus it actually functions. I've never seen the hype behind this game being the worst of all time personally. It's definitely not good, but one of the worst, I really don't see it. This though, Christ on a bike, look at it! Not even the game they apparently put the most effort into to be a competitor to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, with merchandise, TV shows and sequel games, the Cheatsmen is any good. It's exactly the same as all the others in terms of graphics, music, gameplay and bugs, with the only thing making it remotely different being an opening still image cutscene with a hand grabbing a young boy by his jets. The game is even so broken and arrogant in how it presents itself that the publishers made a contest where if you pass a certain level in one of the games on the cartridge known as Ooze, one of the few with an actual title screen, you could win $104,000, a very specific amount, I know. The brilliant thing is though, passing this level is impossible because the game crashes at the same point near the first few levels every time without fail. They even knew how shit this was, and for charging $200 for the privilege to play a game they knew was busted, along with enticing people with a totally fake competition that was impossible to win, that level of total disregard for customers or the art of gaming as a whole places it this high on the list. Do you feel like you need to wash your brain out after seeing some truly awful video games? Well then how about go to the description below to chrono.gg/caddy, where you can get a really good Steam game on the site every single day for a ridiculously cheap price. Be quick though, the offer only lasts a day and then it will change tomorrow.